My name is Anna. I am 24 years old, and I live in a small town near the mountains. I work as a librarian, and my life is usually very calm. I like books, tea, and quiet evenings. But one summer morning, something happened that I will never forget. It was the first day of my vacation. I decided to visit my aunt, who lives in a village called Summer Hill. The only way to get there is by train. I woke up early, packed a small bag, and left my house. The sun was rising, and the air felt fresh. At the train station, there were only a few people. I bought my ticket and waited on the platform. The train arrived with a long whistle. I got on and found a seat by the window. I liked to watch the trees and fields passing by. After about 15 minutes, the train entered a long tunnel. The lights inside the carriage flickered. Then, for a moment, the train became completely dark. I heard a strange noise behind me, like someone dropping a bag. When the lights came back, I noticed something unusual. The man who had been sitting across from me was gone, but his suitcase was still there. At first, I thought he had gone to the bathroom. But minutes passed, and he did not return. My heart began to beat faster. I told myself not to worry. Still, I kept looking at the suitcase. It was black, old, and had no name tag. I decided to ignore it and read my book. But then, a piece of paper slid out from under the suitcase and fell onto the floor. I picked it up. The paper had only 3 words written on it: "Do not open." That was when I felt really uneasy. My mind started to imagine all kinds of things: money, secrets, maybe even something dangerous. I looked around the carriage. The other passengers were reading, talking quietly, or looking at their phones. Nobody seemed to notice anything strange. The train stopped at a small station. A woman with a red hat entered the carriage and sat down next to the suitcase. She looked at me and smiled, but said nothing. I wanted to ask if it was hers, but something in her eyes made me hesitate. As the train moved again, the woman slowly opened her handbag and took out a small envelope. She slid it under the suitcase without a word. Then she got up and walked to the next carriage, leaving the suitcase and the envelope behind. Now my curiosity was too strong. I leaned forward and touched the envelope. Inside, there was a photo of a young boy standing by a river. On the back of the photo, there was a date, July 18, 2005. That was today's date, exactly 20 years ago. I put the photo back quickly. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what to do. Should I tell the conductor? Or should I just leave it alone? Just then, the train made a sudden stop. Everyone looked out the window. There was another train on the track ahead, not moving. We waited for 10 minutes. The conductor walked by, checking on the passengers. When he reached me, I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could say anything, the suitcase was gone. I froze. I looked around. No one seemed to have moved it. The space where it had been was now empty, except for the envelope. I quickly hid the envelope in my bag. When the train finally started again, I kept looking around, expecting the man or the woman to return. But they never did. I got off at Summerhill with my bag and the envelope. My aunt greeted me at the station. She was happy to see me, but she noticed I looked pale. "Are you all right, Anna?" she asked. I nodded, but I couldn't stop thinking about the suitcase and the photo. That night, after dinner, I took the envelope from my bag. I looked at the boy in the photo again. Something about his face felt familiar. Then I realized why. The boy looked exactly like me when I was a child. I stared at the photo for a long time, my heart beating fast. I had never been to that river, and I had no memory of the day in the picture. But it was me. I was sure of it. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept wondering, who took this photo? Why was it in that suitcase? And why did it appear on the train 20 years later, on the exact same date? The next morning, I decided to go to the river in the photo. I showed it to my aunt, and she said it was just outside the village, about a 20-minute walk. We went together. When we arrived, the place looked exactly like the picture, except older. The water flowed slowly, and the trees bent gently over the bank. I stood where the boy in the photo had stood. My aunt watched me quietly. "Anna," she said finally, "there's something I never told you." My heart pounded. "What is it?" "You were found here," she said softly. "When you were 4 years old, someone left you by this river. We never knew who. The police tried to find your family, but no one came. My sister adopted you. We didn't want to upset you, so we never spoke about it." I felt dizzy. The photo, the suitcase, the strangers on the train, it all made sense now, but at the same time, it didn't. Someone had put this photo in that suitcase for me to find. Someone wanted me to remember. I looked around the riverbank, hoping to see someone in the trees or on the path. But there was no one. Only the sound of water and the wind in the leaves. I still don't know who left that suitcase, or why they chose that day. But I know one thing, my life is not as quiet and simple as I thought. And maybe, one day, I will take the train to Summerhill again, and find the answers I'm looking for.